stars stretched endlessly across the black canvas of space, distant suns flickering like tiny candles in the void. Captain Lyra Vance floated in the cockpit of the human scout vessel Horizon's Edge, eyes scanning the instruments with careful attention. She was part of a small elite human scout unit, sent to the edge of the Nebulon Empire's territory, a region known for its strange energy storms and mysterious planets. Humanity had been exploring cautiously, sending small units rather than large fleets, and the Horizon's Edge had been chosen for its agility and intelligent systems. Lyra's crew consisted of 4 others, each specialized in navigation, tactical strategy, communications, and drone control. Unlike the massive warships of other species, human scout vessels were small, fast, and unpredictable. They relied on clever tactics and flexibility, rather than brute force. Lyra's team had trained for years in simulations designed to push their minds beyond normal limits, teaching them to think creatively in situations where conventional strategies failed. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up a faint energy signature approaching from the nearby asteroid belt. Lyra leaned forward, her fingers flying across the control panel. Unidentified ship, small but highly powered. They're moving fast. Scanning for origin. Her tactical officer, Rin, frowned. Energy readings are off the charts for their size. This isn't standard patrol. They're elegant, controlled, professional. Before anyone could respond, the human scout unit detected a fleet materializing from the nebula ahead. The ships were unlike anything humans had encountered before. Tall, silver, and shimmering with energy shields that pulsed in synchronized patterns. They radiated authority, power, and a quiet menace. The Nebulon Empire, as humans had identified them from intercepted transmissions, was ruled by a council of alien princes, each commanding immense fleets. Lyra's lips tightened. This is it, stay calm. Remember, we're small, but that is our advantage. They won't expect us to fight like we do. Focus on agility and tactics, not weapons alone. As the Nebulon fleet advanced, the human unit's AI drones activated, forming defensive grids around the scout ships. The first shots were fired, energy beams slicing through the void. The human drones dodged instinctively, adjusting their positions faster than the alien fleet could anticipate. Lyra felt a thrill run through her as she watched their maneuvers. The Nebulon commanders were confident. In their vast empire, no small human unit had ever dared to engage them. Their strategy was simple: surround the intruders, overwhelm them with superior numbers, and assert dominance. But the humans moved differently. They used feints, split their formations, and exploited weaknesses in the Nebulon formations. Every human maneuver was unexpected, forcing the alien commanders to constantly adjust. "What is this?" one of the alien captains demanded over the comms. His voice was sharp, tinged with disbelief. "They are too clever. They anticipate every move. This is impossible." Lyra remained calm, her mind racing with possibilities. The humans had trained for situations exactly like this, but real combat in uncharted space always brought surprises. "Rin, prepare the micro-maneuvers. Use the asteroid belt for cover. Keep them guessing." The Nebulon ships fired again, trying to trap the scouts in a tight formation, but the humans split, weaving between asteroids with precision. The alien energy beams struck rocks and vaporized fragments, but the human vessels slipped through untouched. The Nebulon fleet had power and numbers, but the humans had creativity and speed. Rin grinned. "They're overextending. If we time it right, we can force them to misalign their shields." Lyra nodded. "Do it. Target their energy nodes, but don't destroy the ships. Keep this a lesson, not a massacre." The human drone surged forward, striking weak points in the alien ship's shield generators. Sparks of energy flared, forcing the Nebulon fleet to break formation. Panic flickered in the alien pilot's movements, subtle but noticeable. The human unit had done what no one expected. They had disrupted a superior fleet with a handful of scouts. In the command room of the Nebulon flagship, the alien princes watched with wide eyes. They were not used to losing control even momentarily. Their pride demanded dominance, yet here they were, challenged by beings they had considered insignificant. "How can this be?" whispered one prince. "We only fought a human scout unit, and yet they dictate the battle." Back in the Horizon's Edge, Lyra felt a surge of pride for her crew. "Good work, everyone. Remember, every move counts. They will respect intelligence over force. Keep them off balance." The humans retreated deeper into the asteroid belt. carefully leading the Nebulan fleet on a chase. They didn't intend to fight a prolonged battle. The goal was simple: observation, survival, and sending a message that humans were not to be underestimated. As they maneuvered, they recorded every movement of the alien fleet, gathering data for future encounters. For the alien princes, confusion turned to awe. They realized their traditional strategies based on overwhelming force and precise formations were inadequate against beings who thought differently. The humans didn't fight the way the Nebulons expected. They used unpredictability as a weapon. Every skirmish revealed that human intuition, creativity, and cooperation were forces in themselves, forces that no amount of technology could fully counter. Lyra's communications officer, May, interrupted the silence. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. It's encrypted, but it appears to be a warning or a message of acknowledgement." Lyra adjusted the receiver. The transmission was in the alien prince's formal dialect, but the AI quickly translated it. The words were simple but heavy with meaning. "You are not what we expected. Your species is more dangerous than our intelligence predicted. We will remember this." Lyra smiled faintly. "They're acknowledging us, not as enemies, but as something they must respect." As the scout unit moved away from the Nebulon fleet, the human crew allowed themselves a brief moment of relief. They had survived their first encounter with a major alien power and had proven that humans were not easily underestimated. For years, humans had been seen as minor players in the galaxy, explorers at best. Today they had rewritten that perception. The stars outside the viewport seemed brighter now, full of possibilities. Lyra knew that the galaxy was vast, and many challenges awaited, but humans had a unique strength: the ability to think differently, to adapt, and to turn limitations into advantages. That strength, more than any weapon, would define their place among the stars. As the horizon's edge glided silently through the asteroid belt, the crew prepared for the next phase of their mission. They would continue to explore, observe, and learn, always relying on their wits rather than sheer force. Every encounter was an opportunity to demonstrate the resilience and ingenuity of humanity, and today had been their first significant lesson to the Nebulan Empire. The alien princes, meanwhile, regrouped in their command halls, murmuring among themselves. Pride and curiosity battled within them. They had been humbled by a handful of humans, and the realization was uncomfortable. Their empire had faced countless foes, but never had they encountered beings whose strength lay not in weapons or numbers, but in mind and spirit. In the weeks that followed, the humans continued their patrol, gathering data on the outer systems, while the Nebulon princes sent scouts of their own to observe these unpredictable intruders. Both sides were learning, adapting, and preparing for what the future might bring. Lyra knew this was just the beginning. Humanity's journey into the stars would not be without challenges, but each encounter reinforced a truth that no alien empire could ignore. Humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of surprising even the most powerful opponents. That lesson, delivered by a single scout unit, would echo across the galaxy for years to come. As night fell over the distant planets below, the small human scout unit traveled onward, leaving behind not destruction, but awe and a message: underestimate humanity at your own peril. Weeks had passed since the first encounter with the human scout unit. In the grand halls of the Nebulan Empire, the alien princes gathered once more, their faces a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Their fleets, which had always dominated smaller forces effortlessly, had been challenged by just a handful of humans. It was unheard of. Prince Zevran, one of the most cautious of the council, stood before the others, his voice steady but tinged with astonishment. "We underestimated them. One scout unit barely armed, yet they outmaneuvered our formation, disrupted our shields, and forced us to retreat. How can such a species survive in this galaxy?" Another Prince Solith narrowed his eyes. "They are clever, yes, but this was a minor engagement. Surely a full fleet could overwhelm them. They cannot match our power for long." Zevran shook his head. "You fail to understand. Their strength is not in raw firepower. They adapt. They think. They learn during the battle. That is something our structured fleets cannot predict easily. One human scout unit, it has shown us a different kind of intelligence. Meanwhile, the humans were unaware of the Council's deliberations. On the horizon's edge, Captain Lyra Vance and her team were reviewing the data they had collected. Every movement of the Nebulon ships, Every tactic used and every weak point had been logged and analyzed. The human scouts worked tirelessly, not out of fear but out of curiosity. Rin, the tactical officer, looked up from the display screen, excitement in his voice. "Captain, their formation patterns are predictable if you know their rhythm. They rely heavily on synchronized shields and energy bursts. If we exploit that timing, we can maneuver through them without direct confrontation." Lyra nodded. "Exactly. They have the technology but not the creativity. We are unpredictable. That is our advantage. Prepare the drones for the next simulation run. I want our counter strategies ready for any future encounter." May, the communications officer, interrupted. "Captain, I'm receiving something unusual. It's not a message. It's almost like they are scanning us, analyzing our behavior in real time." Lyra leaned back in her seat. "Good, let them learn. We need them to understand humans are more than a small fleet. Observing their reactions gives us insight into their strengths and weaknesses." Deep in the Nebulan fleet, the alien commanders were struggling. Every movement of the human scouts seemed to defy their logic. The humans were not just fast, they were adaptive. They used the environment to their advantage, turning asteroid fields into shields and employing decoy drones to confuse the enemy sensors. The alien commanders began to notice patterns, but each attempt to counter them only revealed more unexpected tactics. Prince Solith was frustrated. "We cannot predict them. Every time we think we understand, they change. One unit, and they have already taught us lessons that should take years to learn." Zevran's expression softened with thought. "Perhaps we have been looking at this the wrong way. This is not a fight for dominance. It is an exchange of strategy. They challenge us not by destruction, but by intellect. That is why we hesitate." Back on the horizon's edge, Lyra gave her team new instructions. "We are not here to provoke war. Our mission is exploration, observation, and survival. But if they confront us again, we must be ready. Humans win not by firepower alone, but by outthinking the opponent. Remember that." The humans practiced endlessly. Their ships weaved in simulations through virtual asteroid belts, avoiding hypothetical attacks and testing new formations. They experimented with energy decoys, holographic doubles, and synchronized evasive maneuvers. Every exercise honed their ability to act unpredictably. Days later, as the horizon's edge explored a distant nebula, the sensors detected another approach. This time the fleet was larger, but Lyra could tell immediately that the Nebulons were still cautious. They were not attacking recklessly. They were probing, observing, and testing the humans' limits. "They've learned something," Rin noted. "Their movements are slower, more calculated. They're testing us rather than rushing in." Lyra's fingers hovered over the control panel. "Let them. Every observation they make gives us more data. Keep the drones active and maintain formation, but avoid direct engagement unless necessary. They underestimate humans, but only slightly. We must show them the cost of underestimation." The first exchange began with a series of probing energy pulses. The Nebulans tested the human shields, trying to provoke a reaction. The humans responded not with aggression, but with strategy. Their drones adjusted positions, creating false openings and luring the Nebulons into overextending. Zevran, monitoring from the Nebulon command ship, frowned. They are not attacking, yet they control the flow. It is unsettling. Every move we make is anticipated, yet no weapons strike directly. "What is this tactic?" May's voice came over the comms. "Captain, I've detected a pattern in their energy bursts. They are mimicking our timing. It's almost like they are thinking 2 steps ahead, predicting our actions before we make them." Lyra smiled faintly. "Exactly. Humans think dynamically. The unexpected is our greatest weapon. We don't need to destroy them to prove ourselves. Just surviving while guiding their movements demonstrates skill." The Nebulon fleet attempted a coordinated strike, converging on the human unit from multiple angles. But the humans split their formation, weaving through an asteroid cluster with precision. Energy beams passed harmlessly through the rocks, missing their targets entirely. The Nebulans found themselves reacting to humans in ways they had never encountered, their vast numbers unable to compensate for human unpredictability. Zevran's voice trembled slightly as he addressed the council. "We only fought a human scout unit, yet our fleet is misaligned. Their tactics are extraordinary. They are small, but they possess something our structured approach cannot match. Intelligence, adaptation, creativity. These are not weaknesses to exploit. They are strengths we cannot predict. Back on the horizon's edge, Lyra gave the final command for the engagement. All drones deploy the final maneuver. Draw them closer, then retreat through the energy field. Make them follow, and let them feel the limits of their strategy. The human drones moved as one, a coordinated wave of calculated misdirection. The Nebulan fleet, following instinct and logic, entered the energy field, only to be slowed by electromagnetic interference the humans had anticipated. Their shields weakened slightly, systems overcompensated, and their formation fractured. The humans didn't strike. They let the Nebulons make mistakes, demonstrating that raw power was useless against adaptability. Prince Solith's eyes widened in disbelief. They are teaching us without firing a weapon. One unit and our fleet suffers from our own overconfidence. How can this be? Lyra allowed herself a small smile. Every species relies on their strengths. Ours is not numbers or size. It is thinking, learning, and using the environment in ways no one expects. As the engagement ended, the human unit retreated back toward their assigned sector. They had accomplished their goal: survival, observation, and demonstrating the unique qualities of humanity. No ships had been destroyed, no casualties incurred, yet the Nebulon fleet had been forced to reconsider their assumptions. In the alien command halls, Zevran spoke quietly to his fellow princes. This is only the beginning. Humans are not just explorers. They are unpredictable, intelligent, and adaptable. One small unit has already reshaped our understanding of strategy. We must approach them carefully, or risk underestimating them again. Solith nodded slowly, a rare humility in his expression. Perhaps our empire has relied too heavily on force. Humans fight with their minds and spirit. That is why we faltered. That is why we were humbled. Meanwhile, on the horizon's edge, Lyra and her crew celebrated quietly. They did not boast. They understood that the galaxy was vast and full of challenges, but they felt a shared pride in their unique strengths. Every maneuver, every clever tactic, and every calculated risk had proven that humans could survive against far more powerful forces. The stars outside seemed endless, full of possibilities and opportunities. Lyra knew that humanity's journey was just beginning, but she also knew that their creativity and adaptability would always be their greatest strengths. One human scout unit had made a mark on the Nebulon Empire, and the lessons they had taught would echo across the stars for years to come. As the human scout unit continued its patrol, the Nebulon princes sent emissaries to study them more closely. Both sides were learning, both sides adapting, and both sides slowly understanding that intelligence and creativity were forces as powerful as weapons or numbers. The first encounter had ended, but the story between humans and the Nebulon Empire was far from over. And somewhere in the distance the stars waited, ready for the humans to continue proving that even a small unit could challenge the mightiest empires, not with destruction but with brilliance. The Nebulon Empire was a place of order, precision, and tradition. Every movement, every decision, every strategy was calculated with centuries of experience and countless simulations. And yet, after encountering the humans, that order had begun to feel uncertain. The alien princes could not shake the feeling that they had met a species that thought differently, a species that refused to be contained by conventional logic. Prince Zevran had been tasked with studying the humans more closely. He was not a warlord but a thinker, someone who believed that understanding a species was as important as defeating them. We cannot continue treating them as a simple obstacle, he told the council. They are not merely scouts. They are a demonstration of intelligence, ingenuity, and adaptation. They challenge us without violence, and that is what makes them dangerous and fascinating. Meanwhile, the human scouts were on a distant ice planet, analyzing mineral compositions and scanning the planet's magnetic fields. The crew had taken to naming the planet Glacia for its endless sheets of shimmering ice. Captain Lyra Vance stood at the observation window, watching the auroras dance across the horizon. They reminded her of the unpredictability of life, the kind of beauty that humans could find even in the harshest environments. Rin adjusted a sensor module, glancing at the readings. Captain, we're picking up unusual energy signals nearby. They're intelligent, not hostile, but deliberate. Someone is observing us. Lyra's expression remained calm, though her mind raced with possibilities. It's likely the Nebulon fleet again. They're studying us, trying to understand how we operate. Let them. Observers rarely interfere if they know we are aware of them. Keep recording everything, Rin. Every maneuver, every decision we make, they will learn from it. May, the communications officer, looked uneasy. Captain, they're attempting to communicate, but it's not using weapons or aggression. The signals are structured almost like language, but alien. It feels curious, Lyra nodded. Open a channel, but keep it secure. Let them speak, but we control the conversation. Humans learn by understanding, not by fear. The Nebulon transmission materialized on the human display. The aliens were cautious, choosing words carefully through their AI translator. Humans of the Scout Unit, it began. Your actions are unexpected. Your methods are unfamiliar to us. We wish to understand you, not to harm. Respond if you are willing to communicate. The crew exchanged surprised glances. This was unprecedented. First contact, and not through diplomacy or negotiation, but through a mutual curiosity sparked by mutual respect. Lyra leaned forward. We respond. Humans are explorers. We learn from our environment, from others, and from challenges. We do not seek unnecessary conflict. You may ask questions and we will answer. But understand this. Humans value creativity, courage, and cooperation above all else. Zevran, observing from the Nebulon side, listened intently to every word. They speak with confidence, yet without arrogance. They are willing to share knowledge, but on their terms. This is remarkable. They are not aggressive, yet they are asserting themselves. Over the next several hours, a cautious dialogue developed. The humans explained their scout missions, the principles of human collaboration, and the ways in which they adapted to unexpected situations. The Nebulon princes, in turn, shared selective information about their empire, their fleet designs, and their cultural values. The more they learned, the more the alien princes realized that humans were fundamentally different. Humans did not follow rigid hierarchies. They relied on collaboration and adaptability. Their thinking was lateral, not linear. They saw possibilities where the Nebulans saw limits. And, most importantly, humans treated failure not as shame but as a lesson, a chance to improve and innovate. Prince Solith was the first to admit what many in the council felt, but would not say aloud. We expected to dominate them easily, as we have done with countless species. Yet we were challenged not by brute force but by intellect and creativity. They are extraordinary. The humans, meanwhile, were experimenting with cultural exchanges of their own. They sent small holographic projections of themselves performing simple tasks, illustrating how they navigated their environment, how they solved problems, and how they communicated. The Nebulans observed, fascinated by behaviors that seemed inefficient yet were surprisingly effective. Rin laughed softly. Captain, they seem perplexed by how humans cooperate. They don't understand why we brainstorm instead of following one command, or why we improvise instead of adhering to a fixed plan. Lyra smiled. That's because humans are unpredictable in ways that are productive. Our thinking is flexible. We find solutions where others see obstacles. Let them be puzzled. That will serve as a lesson in humility. Soon the interactions became almost playful. The Nebulan princes tested the humans with hypothetical scenarios. How would they escape a collapsing asteroid? How would they navigate a nebula full of energy storms? The humans responded not with formulas but with ingenuity. They suggested using environmental features to their advantage, creating decoy signals and adapting strategies in real time. Zevran watched the simulations with awe. They do not simply respond, they anticipate. Every solution they propose takes into account both variables and unknowns. Their thinking is multidimensional. This is unlike any species we have encountered. Through this cultural exchange, mutual respect grew. The Nebulons realized that humans were not mere scouts or explorers. They were a species capable of strategic thought that could rival empires. And the humans, in turn, learned about the intricacies of Nebulan society, their traditions, values, and expectations, while maintaining their own independence and perspective. May commented during one of their sessions, "Captain, it feels strange. They are observing us, yet I do not feel threatened. In fact, I feel like they are beginning to understand what makes humans unique." Lyra nodded. That's the point. Respect does not require fear. If they see our strength and intelligence, they will acknowledge it willingly. And that acknowledgement matters far more than any victory in combat. Outside the communication bubble, small Nebulon scout ships lingered near the ice planet, watching the humans explore, experiment, and interact with each other. They had come expecting simple observation, but they were learning far more than anticipated. The humans' ability to improvise, coordinate, and think in unpredictable ways was challenging the aliens' assumptions about what a species could achieve. Zevran reflected quietly in the command hall, a rare moment of humility in his usually proud demeanor. One scout unit has taught us lessons that entire fleets could not. They are not just capable, they are exceptional. We must adjust our perceptions of the galaxy accordingly. Lyra and her team continued their work, unconcerned by the Nebulan observation. For them, this was exploration in its truest sense, learning, adapting, and demonstrating human potential. The scouts moved with confidence and curiosity, showing that strength was not measured solely by weapons or numbers but by creativity, courage, and teamwork. Even as the humans and Nebulons exchanged knowledge, both sides realized that this encounter had changed their understanding of each other. The Nebulons began to see humans as more than a challenge. They were a species to be respected and learned from. The humans, in turn, recognized that the galaxy was full of civilizations that valued strength and order, yet could also be approached with ingenuity and diplomacy. As the ice planet rotated beneath the human scout unit, the auroras glowing across its surface, Lyra reflected on the importance of this encounter. Humanity's strength was not just survival, it was the ability to think, adapt, and act creatively in the face of uncertainty. That strength had impressed even the Nebulan princes, a species that had ruled the stars for centuries. The lessons were clear. Respect could be earned through intelligence and integrity, not just firepower. Cooperation and creativity could turn perceived weakness into strength. And even the smallest human unit could change the perspective of an entire empire. Prince Salith, observing from the Nebulon fleet, whispered to Zevran, "We only fought a human scout unit, and yet they have reshaped our understanding. What will they do if faced with the full force of our empire?" Zevran smiled faintly. "That is a question for another day. For now we learn, we observe, and we respect." For the humans, the day ended quietly. The ice planet shimmered beneath them, a reminder that the universe was full of wonders waiting to be explored. They had survived, taught lessons without conflict, and gained the attention of a powerful alien empire. In the galaxy, respect and understanding were becoming as important as power and control. And humans, with their creativity, adaptability, and courage, had begun to carve a place for themselves not as conquerors, but as equals capable of shaping the perception of even the most advanced civilizations. The Nebulon princes, humbled yet intrigued, knew that their empire had encountered a species unlike any other, and the humans, ever curious and resourceful, continued their journey, proving that intelligence, courage, and collaboration could achieve far more than force alone. The encounter had shifted the balance, not through battle, but through insight. Humans had shown that even a small unit could teach lessons that fleets could not, and that the galaxy would need to rethink what it meant to face humanity. The Nebulan Empire had never faced a challenge like this before. For centuries, their fleets had ruled unopposed, their strategies honed to perfection, yet the humans had forced them to rethink everything they knew. Captain Lyra Vance and her scout unit had proven that intelligence, adaptability, and creativity could match even the most powerful forces. One morning, the human crew received a communication unlike any before. It was formal, respectful, and direct. The Nebulon princes had invited them to participate in a joint mission. A rogue energy storm, unpredictable and growing in intensity, threatened a nearby star system. If left unchecked, it could destabilize planets, destroy fleets, and unravel the careful balance of the region. "This is unprecedented," Rin said, scanning the message. "They want us to work with them. A full mission together." Lyra studied the coordinates. "This is more than a test of skill. It's a chance to show that humans can cooperate on a large scale, and that our ingenuity has value beyond scouting. We accept. Prepare the team." May adjusted the comms. "Captain, the Nebulon fleet will meet us at the edge of the storm. They're sending both vessels and scientific teams. This is going to be huge." As the humans approached the designated coordinates, the size of the Nebulon fleet became clear. Ships of all shapes and sizes stretched across space like a silver armada. It was an impressive sight, and yet the humans were not intimidated. They had learned that courage and strategy mattered more than size alone. Prince Zevran greeted them personally, his presence commanding yet calm. "Humans, your abilities have impressed us. We invite you not as subordinates, but as equals. The storm we face is unpredictable. Your experience in adaptation and improvisation will be essential to our success. Lyra bowed slightly. Thank you, Prince Zevran.
Humans are eager to contribute.
We believe every challenge can be solved with the right combination of strategy, teamwork, and creativity. The mission began with careful observation. The energy storm was immense, swirling with unpredictable magnetic currents and bursts of radiation. Nebulon sensors struggled to map its full range, while humans proposed new approaches, using smaller scout vessels to navigate the edges and measure the storm's fluctuations in real time. Rin directed the drones with precision. We can map the storm faster if we split into multiple paths. Smaller teams can enter unstable zones safely and relay information back. Zevran nodded in approval. Your methods are unconventional, yet they are effective. Begin immediately. The human scouts led the Nebulon ships through narrow corridors of the storm, anticipating sudden energy bursts and guiding the larger fleet around unstable zones. When a wave of electromagnetic interference threatened to disable some Nebulon ships, the humans suggested an improvised energy shield configuration using their drones. The Nebulon engineers followed the instructions, amazed at how quickly humans could devise solutions under pressure. As the mission progressed, cooperation deepened. Humans and Nebulons shared insights, adjusted strategies, and executed maneuvers in perfect synchrony. Lyra realized that this was more than a mission. It was a demonstration of the potential of two civilizations working together. At one point, a sudden surge in the storm created a massive energy vortex, threatening to trap several Nebulon vessels. Lyra acted without hesitation. Rin, deploy the decoy drones to lead the vortex away. May coordinate shield reinforcement for the larger ships. Move now! The humans executed the plan flawlessly. The vortex followed the drones, avoiding the Nebulon ships entirely. The Nebulon fleet, which had always relied on rigid formations, adapted to the humans' improvisation. They were learning that adaptability could be as powerful as precision. Prince Solith watched the unfolding events, a rare smile crossing his face. One small human scout unit has orchestrated a maneuver that even our commanders would hesitate to attempt. Their creativity is remarkable. The mission continued for hours, each challenge more complex than the last. The humans guided the Nebulon ships through shifting magnetic fields, sudden radiation bursts, and unpredictable gravitational waves. At every step, humans demonstrated that thinking differently could turn danger into opportunity. Finally, the storm reached its most critical point. The core of the energy surge threatened to destabilize a nearby planet's orbit. Nebulon engineers were ready to act, but the humans suggested a coordinated multi-phase approach. Lyra explained the plan in simple terms. Small scout teams would create a controlled energy pulse to stabilize the outer currents, while the larger ships reinforced the shields. Timing would be crucial, and improvisation would be required if any variables shifted. Zevran and Solith exchanged glances. This is risky, Zevran admitted, but it leverages human ingenuity in a way we could never predict. We follow their lead. The humans and Nebulons executed the plan perfectly. Scout vessels darted through the storm, releasing controlled energy pulses that harmonized with the natural currents. The larger ships reinforced their shields and adjusted positions in real time, responding to feedback from human drones. Slowly, steadily, the storm began to stabilize. As the final pulse synchronized, the storm's energy subsided. Nebulon ships floated safely. The planets remained in orbit, and the crisis was averted. Silence filled the observation decks as both humans and Nebulons realized the enormity of what they had accomplished together. Zevran finally spoke, his voice filled with awe. Humans, your species has shown us that strength is not only in power or numbers, but in creativity, courage, and teamwork. You have saved not only lives, but the very balance of this system. We are grateful. Lyra smiled, her crew standing quietly beside her. We did what we always do. Work together, adapt, and find solutions. Humans do not seek glory. We seek understanding and the chance to learn. Today we all learned together. Prince Solith, observing the human unit closely, shook his head in amazement. We only fought a human scout unit, and now we realize that even a small team can change outcomes on a scale we never imagined. Your ingenuity is humbling. For the human crew, the mission had reinforced everything they believed about themselves. Size did not dictate ability. Technology did not guarantee success. What mattered most was intelligence, creativity, and cooperation. Their actions had not only completed a critical mission, but also earned the respect of a powerful empire. In the aftermath, the Nebulan princes formally recognized the humans as valuable allies. They invited the human scout units to continue exploring the outer regions together, sharing knowledge and preparing for future challenges. Humans were no longer just observers. They were partners respected for their unique strengths. Lyra reflected on the journey as the horizon's edge glided through the calm void of space. The humans had faced powerful fleets, unpredictable storms, and a species that had dominated the stars for centuries. Yet they had prevailed through intellect, creativity, and teamwork. That, she knew, was humanity's true strength. The Nebulan fleet accompanied the humans for a while, moving in synchronized formations, not as conquerors, but as equals. There was a new understanding between the species, one built on respect, trust, and recognition of each other's strengths. Rin looked out at the stars, thoughtful. "Captain, do you think they truly understand us now? Or will they still underestimate humans in the future?" Lyra smiled softly. "They understand more than they ever have before. But that is the point. Humans cannot be fully predicted. That unpredictability is our gift, our strength. Today we have shown that even the smallest unit can make a difference. Tomorrow, who knows what we can achieve?" May adjusted the comms, catching signals from the Nebulan fleet. "Captain, they're sending formal congratulations. They acknowledge our strategies, our leadership, and our courage. I think this is the beginning of a lasting relationship." Lyra nodded. "It is, and it is built on mutual respect, learning, and cooperation. That is how humans will continue to thrive among the stars, by thinking differently, acting boldly, and working together." As the stars stretched endlessly before them, the human scout unit continued its journey. The Nebulan princes, humbled and enlightened, returned to their empire with new perspectives. One small unit had made a lasting impact, not through destruction but through intelligence, courage, and collaboration. The galaxy had taken notice, and humanity had proven that even in a vast universe, a small team with the right mindset could inspire respect, forge alliances, and change the course of events. In the quiet of space, Lyra and her crew shared a moment of satisfaction. They had faced challenges, impressed a mighty empire, and shown the universe that humans were more than explorers. They were innovators, problem solvers, and a species capable of extraordinary feats. And as the horizon's edge sailed onward, the legacy of that first scout mission continued to grow. Across the stars, the Nebulan princes would remember that they had only fought a human scout unit, and that encounter had humbled them, taught them, and opened their eyes to the power of human ingenuity. The humans had proven, without a single act of unnecessary aggression, that cleverness, courage, and collaboration were weapons as mighty as any fleet. And in the galaxy beyond, their story was just beginning.